Hello and welcome to America in Focus, powered by the Center Square. I'm Dan McCaleb, executive editor of the Center Square Newswire service. Joining me today is the Center Square's Washington, D.C. bureau chief, Casey Harper. We are recording this on Friday, July 7th. Bit of an unusual story out of Washington, D.C. this week, specifically from the White House, where a baggie of cocaine was found near the West Wing on Sunday, leading to lots of speculation of whose it was and how the cocaine got there in the first place. Tell us about this story, Casey.
Yeah, this is a very unusual story that immediately, as you might expect, sparked a flurry of rumors, accusations, and speculations. But a few of the facts are that, as you said, this was found on Sunday, and a Secret Service said it was a routine sweep. They haven't been as specific on exactly where it was found, but it was apparently found in a more public area. Of course, there are tours of the White House they go through. It's worth noting that President Biden had gone out of town on Friday, but, it's probably inevitable that this would happen. But it was especially aggravated when Hunter Biden, the president's son, who has a history of drug abuse, was seen at the White House on the 4th of July. And we know that he's been in and out of the White House seemingly unannounced for different events, and July 4th was one of them. So, of course, that sparked a whole other flurry of accusations. Right now, the Secret Service hasn't released much details. They don't know on who it was. They don't seem to know much about it at all. Or if they do, they're not releasing it, which, that's raising other criticisms of, hey, the FBI can, selectively track down different people for different things. But when it comes to the White House or some staffer or some influential person potentially having illicit drugs, suddenly law enforcement doesn't know anything, which hits more on a common theme we have of selective enforcement of potentially federal law enforcement. But it's a little early for that, I'd say. Secret Service does need time to investigate this, but they found it. Hunter Biden showed up 2 days later. It was at a public area. We may never know, but it's certainly not a good look for the president to be defending a son with a long history of drug abuse and allegedly illicit illegal activity. And then to have, and I don't remember anything ever like this being made public, Dan. I don't think maybe you do. I don't think so though. Of illegal drugs being found at the White House. My
memory's not so great anymore, Casey, but right. No, I don't recall anything.
That's the price you pay when you are our resident cocaine expert for this podcast. So.
Wow. Whatever. So let's just, former President Donald Trump, who's known to say almost anything, and who is the GOP frontrunner in the 2024 primaries to run for president again. He just came out on his social media site, Truth Social, and blatantly accused the Bidens of the cocaine being the Bidens. We have no idea if that's the case, but of course that sparked questions of what the White House communications office or whatever who denied, said the Bidens weren't there. It was just as a timeline. The cocaine was found on Sunday. White House press secretary says President Biden, his wife, and their family were not there over the weekend. Hunter Biden shows up on July 4th. On Wednesday, the Secret Service, after testing the white powdery substance that was found, confirmed that it was indeed cocaine. The investigation is ongoing, but just with all the politics involved, it's become a major story in Washington, D.C. And unless we find the quote-unquote culprit, the person who actually brought the cocaine into the White House, there's going to be speculation for forever unless they identify somebody.
Right.
Don't you think?
Yeah, you're right about that. And I think there's such a breakdown in trust that the American people don't trust, honestly, some federal law enforcement, but especially White House press secretaries and administration officials. So when the American public hears, oh, trust us, I think their just gut level reaction is to not believe that or to not trust it at least. And so, we could sit here and say, well, Hunter Biden didn't show up till, July 4th, and that could be true. But I don't think the average person just is like, I don't believe you. Maybe he did. Of course, what else are you going to say? Like, oh, Hunter had the White House to himself all weekend and his parents were out of town. And what's he going to say? So, there may be, we may get more down to the bottom of this because Senator Tom Cotton, the Republican from Arkansas, he did open up an investigation with the Secret Service. He sent a letter to the director, Kimberly Cheatle, and he asked for a lot of the processes, what goes into evaluating this. And they have a few weeks to provide, some details and around the investigation of this. And one interesting thing that he's trying to find out based on his letter is, White House family members get special treatment when it comes to screening. And, you could see how that would make sense. For example, lawmakers don't go through the same kind of screening, I think, that staffers do on the Capitol. I think I've seen members of Congress kind of skip the line, and maybe they're not supposed to do that, but I believe I've seen it. And, I've been to the White House for White House press briefings, and you have to go through a metal detector. You have to get the wand over you, and they do look through, sometimes can look through your bag. So there is a process, and staffers have to go through a similar one. So it does raise the question of, what are the processes? And, we kind of skimmed over this because now we know it was cocaine, but that could have been anthrax. It was just a white powder at the time. And as you said, they called the DC Fire Department, and it turned out to be cocaine. And so now it's a different story. But the fact that, white powder can get into the White House, regardless of what it is a little troubling, because
you would think the White House would be among the most secure buildings in the United States. Certainly guests are screened for everything. It's been a while since I've been to the White House, but I assume they have drug dogs and things like that there. The White House didn't help itself in one exchange with reporters after Trump came out and made these, unsubstantiated claims that the cocaine was Biden. A White House spokesperson was asked directly about it. His name was Andrew Bates. A reporter asked, let me quote here, the cocaine found in the White House had belonged to either the president or his son. Are you willing to say that that's not the case? Bates responded, quote, I don't have a response to that because we have to be careful about the Hatch Act. Now, the Hatch Act prevents federal employees when they're working on government time from talking about campaigns. And yeah, Trump is a candidate, but it seems like saying he can't respond because it would be a violation of the Hatch Act. That just seems like a stretch to me. If he said, I can't comment because of the ongoing investigation, that's one thing. But invoking the Hatch Act, I don't think they help themselves there. Well, obviously, the story continues to develop, and our listeners can learn more about it. Follow the ongoing updates on the story at thecentersquare.com. But we are out of time. For Casey Harper, I'm Dan McCaleb. Please subscribe. Thank you for listening.